was my mistake, and I'm sorry. And I'm really sorry that this happened. I'm sorry for it.
According to MSN.com, Facebook posted the largest one-day loss in market value by any company in U.S. stock market history on July 26, 2018. CEO Mark Zuckerberg lost over $15 billion in stock market value. What is the role of the leader in ensuring that unethical practices do not occur, and how does organizational culture support ethical practices and ensure psychological safety? And finally, once an event occurs, can the company and CEO survive? Facebook was founded in 2004 in Mark Zuckerberg's Harvard dormitory. According to its company mission statement, people use Facebook to stay connected with friends and family, to discover what's going on in the world, and to share and express what matters to them. As of Q2 2018, there were over 2.23 billion monthly active Facebook users, which is an 11% increase year over year. In fact, 79% of all Americans use Facebook, and more than half of US residents use Facebook several times a day. In addition to its primary site, Facebook also acquired 50 companies since 2005, most notably Instagram and WhatsApp. Facebook's beginnings are shrouded in controversy. A week after Mark Zuckerberg launched thefacebook.com, 3 fellow Harvard seniors sued him for stealing their idea. The case was eventually settled out of court, but the speculation continues as to what actually transpired. From these suspicious beginnings, Facebook has grown to include over 30,000 employees and has offices all over the world. Interestingly, its headquarters is in Menlo, California, on One Hacker Way. According to its website, Facebook is defined by our hacker culture, an environment that rewards creative problem solving and rapid decision making. In March 2018, the New York Times and The Guardian broke a story about the leak of personal data from 87 million Facebook users. Since 2007, Facebook has allowed outside developers to build and house their own applications within its space. During summer 2014, Cambridge Analytica hired a Russian researcher to gather information on Facebook users and what they liked. Using a survey contained within a downloaded app, he collected info on users and their friends if their privacy features allowed it. The data was used to target voters and change their behaviors. The fallout has been swift, and in April, CEO Mark Zuckerberg spent 2 days testifying before Congress. According to Rizzo and Kelly, Zuckerberg chose his words carefully, dodged or referred questions to his team, and gave only partial answers. The responses he did give were in some cases misleading because they lacked relevant information that could cast Facebook in an unflattering light. In his opening statement, Zuckerberg said, "It was my mistake, and I'm sorry. I started Facebook, I run it, and I'm responsible for what happens here." Some would argue Zuckerberg has been apologizing since he formed the company. Oscar Munoz managed to survive the dilemmas that United Airlines faced within the first couple of years of him taking over as CEO. The largest of the incidents included a passenger being forcibly removed from the aircraft and a cold, uncompassionate apology from Munoz. Shortly thereafter, a flight attendant required a puppy to be stowed in the overhead compartment, causing it to suffocate. Within that year, stock prices dropped along with United's public image. As a response to these events, Munoz voluntarily waived his bonus as one of his many efforts to lead by example and create a culture of accountability. Oscar Munoz proved his resilience, his faith in his employee group, and how to shift value from purely financial gains to the people in which the organization is composed. Munoz is different than other CEOs whose tenure did not survive the ethical dilemmas. His reflection of these highly publicized events shaped his guiding principles. He began listening to what employees find important and prioritized their needs. He empowered employees to make ethical decisions and placed as much value on human capital as on profit. Munoz was able to identify what he can and cannot control and create a culture that empowered employees to do the right thing in the moment without regard to policies and procedures if it was the right thing by the customer. He built trust with the employees by listening to them and having their backs when things went wrong. According to Cooper et al., on September 18, 2015, the EPA released a report explaining how VW used software to help its diesel-powered vehicles cheat emissions tests. Once the news became public, CEO Martin Winterkorn issued a public apology but denied any prior knowledge of the behavior. Winterkorn had a reputation as being an authoritarian manager. According to one former manager, there was always a distance, a fear, a respect. If you had to go to him or he would come visit, your pulse would always go up. Another VW executive agreed by describing how CEOs of boards were often treated very disrespectfully. Given his often demeaning style, there was little psychological safety at VW. Employees were intimidated and there was extreme pressure. The organizational structure positioned Winterkorn to run VW largely without board oversight. The chief of the VW Works Council remarked, "We need in future a climate in which problems aren't hidden but can be openly communicated to superiors." Despite his apology and accepting accountability for what had occurred, Winterkorn was forced out as CEO within a week of the scandal. As a leader, Winterkorn failed to create a psychologically safe environment that allowed for transparent communication and open questioning. According to Mayer, ethical leaders set the tone for how employees should behave in organizations. In addition, the leader must model the behavior he/she expects from others. Ethical leaders are both moral persons who exhibit strong moral character and moral managers who define success by doing what is right. In the example of Facebook, Zuckerberg has operated with a questionable moral compass, arguably since the company's inception, and yet has remained in the CEO position. Schwartz refers to moral capacity as not only one's moral maturity and the core ethical values they possess, but the extent to which they will cling to these values when faced with an ethical dilemma, such as Facebook's encounter with Cambridge Analytica. Zuckerberg has demonstrated questionable ethics not only when it comes to protecting users' data, but also in the way he managed public relations. It is the leader's responsibility to develop the organizational culture and norms that support ethical behavior. This starts with asserting that ethics is everyone's responsibility. Values should promote ethical behavior and provide a moral compass for the company. In addition, the leader is responsible for setting a reward system that aligns with its values. Leaders should ensure that they are rewarding the kind of behavior that they want and not experiencing motivational blindness, seeing only what they want to see. Finally, the leader must create a psychological safe environment that fosters trust and open communication. According to Edmondson, psychological safety is not about being nice or about lowering performance standards. Quite the opposite. It's about recognizing that high performance requires openness, flexibility, and interdependence. Psychological safety actually allows for an open dialogue regarding tough questions, including ethical dilemmas. Organizations will continue to face ethical issues and require employees to make decisions to either act ethically or unethically. Therefore, it is important to put efforts in place to prevent ethical dilemmas from impacting the organization. L'Oreal, a well-known beauty company, can be viewed as an example to organizations seeking an ethical work environment. The company has been awarded as one of 2017's most ethical companies by Ethisphere. Given that the company has been recognized 8 times for this title, looking into their best practices may provide insight to those wishing to reach such a ranking. First and foremost, Jean-Paul Agon, L'Oreal's chairman and CEO, cites culture as the main component of the company's ethical stance. Agon further explains this theory by stating, "I am proud that ethics is a key pillar of our culture and leadership, requiring our teams throughout the world to always include ethics in the decisions they make. A culture which pays attention to their actions and ensures that employees are acting ethically from the top down are more likely to follow suit throughout the organization. If the C-suite is acting unethically, the actions will likely trickle down and create a stream of unethical actions." Agon's acknowledgement and expectation of an ethical culture at L'Oreal is likely the main component behind the company's sustained ethics. Implementing this role helps executives think through difficult, critical decisions. They could help develop ethical guidelines for companies, even a code of ethics, and they could provide company-wide training on ethical decision-making. Zuckerberg could benefit from taking into consideration Agon's actions at L'Oreal and implement them at Facebook. He could begin by looking intrinsically to see if his actions and efforts are ethical, or by having a trusted confidant to consult him on his behavior and/or responses to dilemmas that arise. Rather than promoting a hacker culture, Zuckerberg should promote a culture that fosters trust and integrity, allowing Facebook employees to feel empowered to speak up when they observe any unethical behavior. This type of shift in his behavior could prevent Facebook from facing future ethical dilemmas and public scrutiny, stabilizing the company's brand as an ethical organization.